what's up? How are you?
I'm amazing. It's a wonderful Tuesday. I'm almost there to Friday. That's what I try to say to keep myself motivated.
Awesome. Welcome to the show.
That's fire. Anyway, can you retell the story about your shirt?
So Crooklyn was one of my favorite movies as a kid. I'm sure every 90s baby has watched it like a million times, but they had an exhibit, Spike Lee did, at the NYC Museum at the same time as Jay-Z's exhibit next door. So I went and bought all the things. I was super hyped, and my kids had no idea what Crooklyn was or who Spike Lee was. So I almost disowned them, but yeah, I had to put it back.
That's actually really reasonable. So I didn't know you had tattoos, by the way.
Oh yes, I try to hide them. This is my newest one too. I'm super
Man,
into like the eye and like the all-seeing eye and understanding. Yeah, I'm super hippie. I try to like compress it at work, but I'm super hippie. Yeah.
like, do you go camping and walk around with no shoes and stuff?
So I feel triggered. Um, Me and my husband just started homesteading, ironically enough. And so we have 2 acres. And when we first started dating, I told him, like, I want to go outside and walk and connect with the earth. So he's from East Baltimore. He's not really down for walking outside and in the dirt. But yeah, I do sometimes. I taught my kids how to do it to calm down. But yeah, I do. I hug trees. Yeah, it's fun.
That's dope. There's like, I recently was introduced to an Instagram of this couple who's homesteading. They're like super popular. Don't remember their names though, so don't even mind me.
Get
Okay.
into it. You should get into it. We got 15 chickens and bees
Oh,
and
nah.
everything.
Nope.
Oh, she's not going to do anything that has wings. Does not
Oh,
do
no, they're
birds.
so cute. They're like little babies. It's so cute.
That's my phobia. Birds. Like, if I see a bird, I'm diving under a table. I'm
Oh no.
screaming. Like, they freak me out all the way. So, yeah.
They
Anyways,
are pretty nasty. They eat their own poop, so yeah.
I'm just like, I feel like they can kill you.
Not chickens, maybe. I don't know. They probably could, but
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. All right. So, do you know what's about to happen before we deep dive?
it's going down.
Yeah, you ready? So, we're going to play a little game called That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. So, here are the rules. And to our listeners, if you don't know the rules by now, you don't watch, and that makes me sad. But Anthony said no one ever watches the full episode. So, anyways, the rules are as follows. We will play 4 songs. You get 3 guesses. You name either
Okay.
the artist or the song. If you can name both, that is a flex. And if you get 0 out of 4, it's okay. You're among good company.
Right. I'm competitive, so let's go.
All right, let's get to it. Anthony, song number. Actually, let me say this before I forget. The singer singing the songs for That's My Jam 90s R&B today, the wonderful Dre Scott. So thank you for doing that. All right. Anyway, so song number 1.
I don't wanna stop just because people walking by watching us. I don't
Janet
give a
Jackson.
damn what they think.
I don't know the title of the song, but I remember hearing this. Yeah, Janet Jackson.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Do you want to say the name of the song?
Anytime, any place.
Anytime. Yes.
Yes, we're off to a strong start. All right, song number 2.
Sometimes it makes me wonder, where would I be? Where would I be if you haven't discovered which I did?
Monica.
Hey!
Yeah. I don't know the title of that
There
song
was
either. So
something that we could
Can we just listen to it for a second? Come on, Dre. Let's sing it.
never meant to cause you no pain. Baby, I just wanna go back to being the same. Well, I only wanna
Keep
make
singing.
things right.
before you walk out of my life.
I guess we had to let it marinate for a minute. Oh
She got
man,
bonus points.
that was good. Okay, song number 3.
Pretty brown eyes, you know I see you. It's a disguise the way you treat me. The way you treat me. Pretty brown eyes, keep holding on to your thoughts of rejection. If
I know the song.
I
I got nothing. I don't know the artist or the name of the song.
Just think of-
But if I was getting married again, I would want them to sing at my wedding for sure.
Yeah, okay. It's Breaking My Heart by Mint Condition.
Mint Condition. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all right.
No,
it's all right.
it's okay. To be fair, on the way here, I was like, who sings that? And Tiffany had to tell me. So it's totally fine. All right.
You want me to give her the buzzer?
Yeah, go ahead. Give her the buzzer. Oh, man.
Oh, okay.
All right. Song number 4. You got this one. This is a shoo-in.
Let me tell you about this girl. Maybe I shouldn't. I met her in Philly, and her name was Brown Sugar. So
Brown
we've been
Sugar
making love
by
constantly.
D'Angelo.
Yes.
Shake the blood burgundy.
Can we let this one play a little bit?
This
is my cut. This is my cut.
Let's
When
do
I'm
it.
kissing what I miss, and won't you listen? Brown sugar, babe. I guess how
It's
I love. I
happened.
know how to behave. Your brown sugar.
Yes. Yes.
Come
Yes.
on, Dre.
Some of
What?
your brown sugar.
He sounds so good.
Right? Right?
Some of your brown sugar.
Classic.
It is. So something that we can turn it off. So something that recently broke my heart is I thought it was a love song, and then Tiffany was like, "It's about weed."
Zach D'Angelo.
Wait a minute.
I'm not even surprised. I'm not even surprised.
So I'm not the only one who was like, "That's what it's about." Anyway, all right.
I thought it was really a dope love song, but
I mean, it's a love song of sorts.
So
Yeah.
weed, a love about.
just not
Okay.
for a person.
This
I
is
get it.
Anthony's theme song.
You just love throwing me under the bus here.
Am I allowed to reveal that? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways, so let's get down to the reason people are actually here. If you are new, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I am Jordan, aka Jay, aka the chosen one, aka Big Stepper, and I am here with my co-host.
I'm Tiffany B. I'm excited that you're here with us for an episode of the Stats on Stats podcast. We get to talk to great leaders in the cyber, IT, technology spaces. We have someone here with us today. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. She's going to briefly tell you her name, where she's from, where she is currently, how long she's been in her space, and what her current role is.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Shanikqua Burks. Where do I live? Fredericksburg, Virginia. I've been here probably for a year. I'm from all over the Northern Virginia area. So Fairfax, Falls Church, Woodbridge. I've been in this space probably for about 15 to 16 years. And I'm a solutions architect for Prisma Cloud within Palo Alto Networks. So I've been doing that for about 2 years. I was at Splunk before.
Fancy. So what is a solutions architect for those who don't know?
So I am considered a subject matter expert for all things cloud within Palo Alto Networks. We have, multiple speedboats, some for security, some for firewalls, and then of course for cloud. So I just help the account team. I'm matched one-to-one with an account rep who basically owns a territory. I do all of federal healthcare. And I'm just the smart person on the team that demos customers and tells them all the great features about our product. So yeah, the brains of the operation is what I like to call myself.
I like the positive affirmations. She said, "I am the greatest."
You have to.
I'm
You
inclined
have
to agree. I agree with you. So I feel that for sure.
Okay, so what you do, you sometimes find yourself in intense negotiations. Is that right? Okay, so so what are some of the skills that you use in order to kind of navigate that?
First, I don't take anything personal. Like I truly believe everybody's just trying to do their job the best way that they know how. And I can't take any of this personal. But also I communicate with my customers as if I'm talking to normal people, because they are normal people. Like if I go into it with the mindset that these people are above me or these people have something that I need, it's always going to be mismatched. But I think when negotiating, just level setting, being able to understand what they need, how I can help them, and just walking them through it has helped a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
I actually like something that you said, because this is something that I'm constantly applying to work. I don't take it personal. Matter of fact, I tell all my managers, I'm like, you can say whatever you need to, because I don't have feelings at work. Like, life is too short for all that. So I like that. I like that you mentioned that.
Was this something that you all, like, was this on your roadmap originally, or did you kind of fall into this?
So I'm not even gonna lie, I fell into it. Like I told you guys, I'm a super hippie. I was just talking to my son, he's 16. He was asking like how I got into this, and I'm like, you dude, like I had to feed you. Thank you. But I really wanted to go to VCU for art and like be an art student, an art kid. I told my parents I wanted to live in a hostel and like not pay bills and arrows around the city. So, needless to say, none of that worked out. I actually didn't get my degree until 10 years into being in tech, only because I wasn't that, like, I wasn't sold on the fact that this was my forever career. I was still holding on to being an artist. But over time, I think you just meet the right people, you learn the right skills, you pick up things along the way. And then I came into sales actually because I had a clearance and someone reached out to me about needing a cleared SE. And so it was just like, what is an SE? What do they do? And he was like, don't worry about it. I'll show you the ropes. I was there at Verizon for about 4 to 5 years, and I realized like no one knows what this role is or what it's capable of or where it can take you. So just kind of started from there and just growing is where I am now. A lot of stuff is by like happenstance. People say there's nothing's done by mistake. Definitely serendipity, because I meet people and they have such an impact on my life, and it kind of helps me on the next step, whatever my journey is. So
Okay, awesome. Well, that was a lot of stuff. I heard Verizon, I heard the
I'm
hostel,
sorry.
and art. No, this is perfect. This leads me back to your journey. Like, where did it start anyway? Like, where were you planning on going to school for art?
So Virginia Commonwealth University is like a huge, at least in our area, a huge art school. And it's one of the nicest, I think, art schools in the state. Um, I was not the ideal high school student. I legit had a 1.5 GPA, like begging my chemistry teacher to give me that last credit so I can graduate. School for me, I mean, it's been fun, but it was never my passion. So going to college 2 years in, I actually did really well and decided like I just want to leave and, figure out my own way outside of school. I joined the military and didn't tell my parents and told them I was going to basic training at the end of the summer. Like the whole thing, I could definitely write a book. I think it make a lot of people laugh. um, but yeah, I'm a daddy's girl, so I never wanted to disappoint my dad. He wanted me to go back and finish my degree. He wanted me to, make sure I set myself up for success if he was never here. So I promised him my bachelor's. I got it. We cried, and here I am trying to be a whole full-blown adult. I think a lot of my journey has been like feeling my way around tech. I've worked in a SOC, I've pulled cables, I've, done architecture, I've worked at a help desk, I've done all the things. But sales is really a place where I feel comfortable. I could talk to people and still be technical. So that's kind of like where I ended up now. I tell my son, like, there's no guarantee that you'll get a great job after college. There's no guarantee that, if you go to college, you're destined to be successful. So just kind of do what makes you feel right, do what's right, and you'll kind of, fall into where you're supposed to be in life. The mentality that you have going into the world, like I watched a video yesterday that talked about success is not necessarily the skills, it's not the degree, it's grit. And if nothing else teaches you grit, it's the military. Like from the bottom up, nothing else teaches you grit except for the military.
Big
It
facts.
may be like prison, but military.
So
The best
actually,
option.
Somebody asked me when we were at South by Southwest, he's like, have you ever been to prison? We won't even get into that. But he was like, have you ever been to prison? I said, does the military count? Anyway. So real quick, because I'm noticing your background, path, presalepath.org. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'd love to.
Ooh.
No, pre-sales. Okay, so Path started, of course, as you guys know, pre-sales is not for the faint of heart. Not a lot of people know what this role is. It's hard for women. It's hard for, underrepresented groups. It's hard for anyone to really get into this side of tech. So it actually stands for Pre-sales Advancement and Training Hub. I started it with a group of friends because we're all pre-sales engineers. We trying to figure out how to, elevate our careers, move to the next step, bring people in that are consultants all over the place to try to, transition. And we were like, why don't we make this a thing? Like, there's so many people reaching out on LinkedIn. There's so many people, that ask what you do at conferences. And why not have a place where people can go and get that centralized information? So we started Path. The website is not fully up yet, but it will be soon with our mentorship program. But really, it's just a way to highlight people that are already in this field, highlight, the people that want to move up. My boss, David Kubicki, is amazing. He's actually a board member. He's signed on to like be that advisor for people that are trying to become SEs because there isn't much out there to help prepare you for this role. And when I say prepare, I say that extremely loosely, but there's also a lot of people that have great skills that are utilized in pre-sales. And so this is just a way to either sharpen your skills or learn exactly what you need to kind of come into this kind of section of tech.
Awesome. Did you draw the art?
I didn't. So I had an amazing person on Fiverr.
It might have been Anthony for all we know. Oh my God.
I heard you mentioning, so your path is going to have mentors in the program?
Yes. So we're looking for mentors. We need mentors of any level, anybody in pre-sales, please. It's like a 3-month program to be able to dedicate your time and work with somebody that's either interested in coming into pre-sales or already in and trying to get to where you are. We also need people that need, that transition help, that need the advising. So anybody that's welcome to, give us a couple of hours of their time per month, I would greatly appreciate it.
Awesome. How do they get in touch with you? You said the website's not completely up. So do they email you?
Yes, LinkedIn. Definitely on LinkedIn. If you look up Pre-sales Advancement and Training Hub or just type in Path or find me on LinkedIn, Shanikqua Burks. I can definitely get you in touch with the people that we have in the organization already.
So are you working on any other projects right now?
All the things, like literally I have no chill. Like I have according to my husband. So we're starting this whole homesteading thing. So that's like a side project every weekend. I also work with a great guy who recently got laid off and decided to start a consulting company. So I'm advising him as far as like business strategy and strategy for contracts and things like that. So I don't want to disclose, his name or anything because I don't know if everything is official, but that's definitely in the works. Being able to help companies elevate themselves, but also just enjoying life. Like I sew a lot and I mentor a lot. I'm mentoring now with Blacks in Cyber. So just, in my free time, I do whatever. I let it flow, the vibes.
Oh my gosh, you're doing so much though. Like between
My
the
kids are older. I have a 9-year-old and a 16-year-old. So as long as they can feed themselves and dress themselves, like that takes a lot of the load off for the most part.
I have a question real quick about your enthusiasm, kind of about mentorship and teaching and all that stuff. What inspires you?
There are so many gatekeepers, and I think 10 years ago, it's not like how it is now. I think a lot of the people in certain roles wanted to stay there and elevate and weren't really open. At least when I was learning pre-sales and learning, cyber, even, 15 years ago when I was in a SOC, it wasn't a lot of people will help. A lot of it was like, here's this book, go figure it out. Or, where's your boss? He's your mentor. So I think now that I have not only the voice, but the space, the time, I can leverage my connections to help as well. I feel like pouring into people will help some people have that chance to grow. Who's to say where any of us would be if we had, multiple people vouching for us or speaking for us in rooms where we weren't able to be in. So I think mentorship, to me, once you get to a certain place in your career where you're able to, I think mentorship should be a given, because we wouldn't be here, without bosses or, hiring managers or HR recruiters taking a chance in some instances. So I feel blessed. I think that's ultimately what it is, just being blessed.
Okay.
I feel triggered now because
Jordan always talks about how she's not necessarily excited or motivated to be a mentor and be, I feel like, charged with that responsibility.
Mentorship is not my ministry, but I love you all.
And it's a real thing, because there is a bad side to mentorship too, if I can even call it a bad side. There are some people who, under the guise of needing mentors, really want someone to help them get a job, or, they're in it for something that's not necessarily genuine. Me being an empath, I think a lot of the times pouring my energy into people is like, is this person really here to understand how they can get better? Or do they want me to kind of hook them up with my company or with my connection so that they can get ahead? It's just, deciphering who is who, because it could definitely be draining. It could definitely be draining.
So what do you do to combat that feeling of just being drained and having to pour so much of yourself into so many other people?
Boundaries. If people ask me, hey, can I have 5 minutes to chat with you, about such and such, I'll give them my calendar. Google has a calendar scheduler thing now. It's almost like a Calendly, where you kind of block off because I can't, I can't message you through LinkedIn in these lengthy paragraphs. I can't talk to you ad hoc. I have a whole job and a family. So just understanding boundaries and knowing when to say no. I know what my limit of mentees that I can have on my plate. I know, because I have mentors as well. I know how many mentors I should have, because I still care about my friends. They're, pseudo mentors and therapists and everything else too. So just boundaries and saying no. And some people get pissed. Some people don't understand that part of it, but
No, I love that. And then being unapologetic about it, right? Because you have to take care of yourself. Jordan is,
you don't get that time back at all.
Jordan is good for that. She's 5 o'clock. Don't anybody send me any messages. I hear her all the time. Just I've started setting, making sure I set really good boundaries at work.
But there's a deeper reason for my boundaries, though. we don't have to get too much into that. But I've already disclosed this to everybody. But a lot of my boundaries now are because I do have bipolar disorder. So I have to be able to establish a solid routine. Otherwise, I go off the deep end.
It's definitely understandable.
Yeah.
Definitely understandable.
And I just like to be able to spend time with my family or the people I care the most about. So when it comes to being able to say no or saying no, it's important to also be able to set boundaries so we can have that time together.
So beautiful.
You mentioned something earlier, and you also mentioned it during our sync about how you felt like it was important for people to know that the traditional paths that we talk about for being in great careers or great roles are not always the only ways or the only routes to get to a career and be successful as you are. Can you talk about why you feel like that's important to stress to people?
Because especially now, people look at TikTok and Instagram and think, I'm going to make 100K if I take this, first job in tech, coming from being, a firefighter or a nurse. That part of it is unrealistic. And if people are chasing a dollar, you'll never be happy in any career. That's first and foremost. But I think taking non-traditional paths also kind of carves out a uniqueness for yourself. Being someone in the past that didn't have a degree, but I was a very fast learner, or I could still lead teams because of my military experience, or, whatever you bring to the table, almost adds something that college can't provide. A degree can't give you, real world experience about conflict. It can't give you real world, experience about how to troubleshoot something that you saw because the military like threw you out somewhere to go learn something new. So, and plus being non-traditional is just, that's no one's path is the same as anybody else's. Sometimes people try to follow this template into having a successful career, but literally it takes grit. Like I said, it's literally how bad do you want it and what are you willing to do to like not compromise yourself but still be happy.
I kind of want to piggyback off that. So, to our listeners and aspiring professionals, instant success is not real. If you see something that says in 6 weeks with no experience, you can go from 0 to 100K, it only costs $10,000. Don't sign up for that. Period. Okay, continue.
Yeah. And that's why pre-sales path, that's why we created this. We're not a boot camp. We're not charging people buku bucks to learn these, soft skills and hard skills and all these things. All these boot camp places, no offense to them, but the things that we learn as SEs are things that you learn over time because you've been here and you've done the thing. No boot camp can really give you that experience. So it's really just talking to people that have been there to understand it.
So for people who are listening, who have curiosity about your program, what are some soft skills that you're looking forward to helping them to build and create with the program?
Presentation, and not even just presentation, like doing a demo, how you present yourself to the world. I've seen, I don't mean to laugh, but I've seen people like in a public space act like they're out with their college friends or high school friends. And that's okay if that's your thing. But to me personally, there's always people watching. There's always someone watching you. There's always a potential employer. There's always a potential mentor or whatever. But just understanding, how you present yourself don't compromise yourself. I want to say a couple of terms, but I don't know.
It's okay. Anthony can edit it out.
Okay. Don't code switch to placate people. Still be authentic, but understanding, true communication, listening, talking, understanding pauses. But soft skills are extremely important. And leading a room, command the room, take up space as a woman, put your elbows on the table and literally open your legs. It makes them uncomfortable, but yeah.
I feel triggered again when she's like, don't act like you're hanging out with your friends. I show up everywhere.
Unless your friends are all in tech, then that's fine.
Show up everywhere in flannel and flip-flops, but it's fine.
No, for real, I like that. I have been talking to nieces and nephews all the time about it's so unfair, but you just never know who's paying attention to you when you walk outside the room. So you always have to take that type of thing into consideration. I really, you don't want to have to tell them to be wary of how people are looking at you because you want them to be authentic, just like you said. But at the end of the day, you always have to try to take that into account of who's looking at you. Yeah. You're back. You froze. You froze there for a little while. But you have anything for us? We've been talking you to death. So
how do you navigate? I think that's probably one of the biggest things I'm still learning. How do you navigate, your diagnosis with your bipolar diagnosis with your job? I feel like my identity has almost changed. So it's a whole shift in how I do things. But how do you, Jordan, how has your process changed if it has?
I wasn't prepared for this question.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's okay. So recently something I discovered, kind of understanding my limits now, right? Because I've said this before, but I really used to present myself as super dynamic. I can do everything, all the things. I can work 13, 14 hours. And so recognizing no, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. It changed the way I presented myself. It made me realize that I have to be very, very careful with the jobs that I choose. And it's actually caused me over the years to develop really bad social anxiety because I spend a lot of time now having to essentially filter my thoughts, right? Because I don't want to be I said this because I'm manic or da-da-da. So I have to be way more cautious with even the way that I communicate with people.
I like that.
So Yeah, well, if you don't mind me asking, how do you navigate it? Because I know you mentioned before in that panel, was it Blacks in Tech?
Yeah, Blacks in Cyber, yeah.
Black, okay, that you mentioned that you're neurospicy. So how do you
Mhm.
navigate it?
I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, knowing what my day is going to be. Two pluses too, my boss as well as my account rep also are not neurodivergent. So we just kind of had like an open, transparent table. When I first got hired, I let them know and they were like, oh, snap, me too. Me three. So I was like, cool, we can all we can all leave each other alone when we need to. But being extremely regimented, of course, I'm medicated. Some people choose not to be when they get the ADHD diagnosis. But I also have really, really bad anxiety. And so that combined makes it hard. I try not to travel except for once a month. So that calms down a lot of it, but just making sure my calendar is as up to date as possible. And if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't make sense. Even breaks for myself, lunch, but just making sure everything is scheduled. My kids hate it. They think like I have issues, but everything is done and I'm not freaking out on people. So it balances itself out for sure. But it was rough in the beginning. It was definitely rough.
Yeah, I feel that. Are you, if you don't mind me asking, are you finding that since kind of like sharing, because again, I remember on the panel you said you weren't as open to, sharing it.
Yeah.
Now that you're kind of sharing it, are you noticing like people are being more vulnerable with you and more open with you as well?
Yes, yes. I just got goosebumps. So probably for the first 12 years of my career, I was like, how come people are so cold? How come, no one wants to have genuine conversations? People act like they're not human at work. But after like really doing some self-reflection, I'm like, maybe it's what I'm presenting to the world. And people are just doing that back to me. Because no one wants to talk to people that they can't. I was told I couldn't be read. I was hard to figure out. I was emotionless, like all these things. And so not taking things personal has helped me a lot, just being transparent and vulnerable. And I found that, I've had a better work experience once I started being vulnerable because people understand my intentions. They understand my thought process. Like they understand who I am as a person. So it's not just this vague shell that's coming to work every day. So it definitely makes a difference. And people have cried to me like after that panel. They were like, I never thought that, being brought together with tech would make me have like such a therapy moment. And I was like, I didn't mean for it to happen either. Like it was accident, but yeah, for sure. How you present in the world is definitely what you get back for sure.
Yeah, and I'll be the one to say this, but like to me, you sharing that, especially in that specific forum, was so important because Black people, for a long
Yeah.
time, they weren't talking about that, and
Yeah.
that's just the truth. Like I remember growing up, I was afraid to say like I feel this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I commend you and just have so much admiration for you bringing like that in that specific space. That was amazing.
I appreciate that. To that point too, it's like, I mean, I'm not sure how you guys were raised, but my parents pushed me really hard. And, according to my doctor, I've had ADHD my entire life, but I was gifted and talented. Like, I was always extremely smart. I read early. I started my career early. Like, by 25, I owned a home, all the things that people look at as success. But on the inside, it's a little dusty in here. On the inside,
She about to cry. It's okay. You can drop a tear. It's fine.
no, but on the inside, I felt like, I'm battling something that I can't explain. And, I don't understand what I'm going through. Everybody else is clapping for me, but it's like this great job, all these things, but I'm really like in shambles inside. So getting my diagnosis and understanding that my brain wasn't wired right and that a part of, the ADHD diagnosis was overachieving and being afraid of rejection and all these things like OCD. Like people are wondering, oh, she takes such good notes. No, like I'm sitting here for 3 hours after our meeting trying to make sure they're extremely perfectly formatted. So but yeah, I think that whole table needs to be opened up for people to know like success is not all it's cracked up to be. Mental health is definitely important. It's definitely important. But I'm off my soapbox.
No, self-awareness and just being honest with yourself. That
Yeah.
is that is so powerful. I'm actually gonna ask Tiffany. You don't get to get away from this. So Tiffany, can I say? She has kind of anxiety. So how do you navigate that in the workplace? If you don't mind me asking.
I have kind of anxiety.
She has anxiety.
All of
Okay. So how do you navigate that in the workplace as well?
medication.
Facts.
High five it up.
Yeah, so many people don't know this. I was in the Pentagon September 11th, and so that impacted me for quite some time. And it took me a very long time to actually go to somebody. So like Jordan said, we don't necessarily talk about what's going on mentally. And then in the Army, there was a time where I just felt like you couldn't say you weren't able to handle.
They're going to kick you out.
Yeah. So from September 11th all the way until pretty much right before I got out, around 2017, a lot of things were happening personally here in Tampa with me and just like home and relationships and stuff just over time that I finally went and said, hey, I'm not handling everything on my own. And just like you said, people were clapping and like, hey, you got this. Everything's going great. Right. It was not. So I started having to take medication for PTSD, for the anxiety, for depression, all of those things. And there I was thinking after a while, oh, I'm good. I don't need this anymore. And I stopped taking it and clearly got to work and was getting into some of my meetings and like, oh man, I still feel shaky on the inside. Like it seems like everything is going good, but I can still feel like my heart rate and everything rising. And so I had to go back and say, you know, I allowed myself to believe that once I felt like I was in a better place, I no longer needed medication, and found out that I definitely need to stay on it.
I think that's a huge thing too. Like, I freaked out at the thought that my only normal is medicated. Like, am I gonna have to do this for the rest of my life? Have you ever like contemplated that or wondered? It's a scary thing. Like, I'm sure we're around the same age. No one knows what the effects of any of these things are, but the only normal I feel is medicated. Like, how do you guys handle that? That's a huge reality.
Yeah, that part of that is why I thought like, oh, well, you know, I've learned like different coping skills. I've learned things to do to kind of help myself calm down on my own. And I definitely didn't want to, you know, have to stay medicated. But at the end of the day, I had to just take some time and realize that for me, if I wanted to be able to make sure my relationships were still positively impacted, I wanted to make sure, you know, I could continue to perform in the way that I wanted to at work, and I can continue to just feel successful, then, you know, it was more important to be able to, sometimes you have to, I think for me, sometimes you just have to accept where you are. Yeah. And so I just had to, you know, continue on that path. Yeah. I'm sure Jordan.
Oh, I'm going to keep mine quick. I had to accept it fast because I almost burned my whole gosh darn life to the ground before I got medicated. Like, we won't even go there. I can write a whole book about how I almost ruined my entire life.
Oh, gosh.
The biggest thing for me is I've accepted, like, I have to take medication for the rest of my life. The biggest thing for me is just staying self-aware, because there are times that I'm going to have to adjust it. So not being like, I'm fine because I take this dose, but just being very tapped into the fact that sometimes I need to change doses, maybe even change medication. And I will say one of my biggest frustrations, like I said, I'll keep this quick, is like the thought of having kids. You know what I mean? And being on this type of medication, like, what does that look like? Like, that totally complicates things. So, yeah.
Or having kids and you see in them, why do I feel like this is therapy? You see in them the things that you struggle with. I'm not sure how long you guys have felt those feelings before you got diagnosed, but for me, I see in both my kids, like one child, I see full-blown anxiety. The other child, I clearly can see that, you know, they're ADHD, but it's like, number one, I don't want to diagnose them. I'm not a doctor. Mm-hmm. Number two, I wouldn't medicate them under 18 unless they were harming themselves. Like, I just feel like I want them to grow to their fullest potential before they start messing with their organs. But it makes me reflect on how to parent them too, because being raised in the 90s with parents who either didn't believe in mental health or didn't know how to see the signs to be able to help you. I'm like, if I had this help, like maybe it wouldn't be so rough to navigate, mental health and, my diagnosis now as an adult. But that's the hardest part, is like seeing in them the things that you had going on with you, and having to parent that and still be there is tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
So now that you kind of know your diagnosis, do you find yourself having a deeper level of empathy for people, almost to a point where it feels like energy transference?
Absolutely. And my husband hates it. He hates
Mm-hmm.
it. He's military too, but he's a very private person. He's a very like put people in boxes. But for me, I'm like, if someone does something to me, this is my second marriage. So my ex-husband, that's a whole nother book. But I'm like, hurt people, hurt people. And some people have to really be like messed up inside to have the capacity to do certain things. I forgive people like it's nothing. There's not much that a person can do to me that can hurt who I am at the core. And so I don't feel the need to retaliate or vengeance or any of that. And to my husband, that's detrimental. It's almost like, you don't care how people treat you. I'm like, I do, but this person is obviously hurting. Like they're already destroying themselves. Why do I want to destroy them more? It's pointless. They won't even feel it. It's like, for what? I'm wasting my energy. So for sure, I think a lot of it is trying to understand people's pain, because I know I've done messed up stuff before my diagnosis, because I tried to self-soothe or
Mm.
of course we all know, like, dealing with anxiety, you say things when you're not anxious, because you could be at home in your living room relaxing and somebody can invite you out somewhere and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll come, it'll be fun. And then the day comes and you're like, I'm sick, I can't make it.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So
I'm thankful for good friends though, they get it.
yeah, big facts.
Well, let's shift a little bit. And I know that you pretty clearly love mentoring and helping people. So what are some words of advice that you would give right now to people who are looking to be in your role?
First, decide why this role, why is it important for you? Like, why? Is it the money? Is it the accolades? And I say that because it's really hard. Like, being an SC looks fun until, you lose a deal and you got 5 people questioning why the deal was lost and what did you do? So it's like, it goes back to the grit. Do you have the core qualities that it takes to be successful through the good and the bad in this role? That would be my first piece of advice. Like, make sure you want it for the right reasons. But number two, and I said this on the panel, I'll probably continue to say this for the next 50 years. Who you choose to be in a relationship with can literally make or break your career. And when I first said that to someone in a room, they looked at me like appalled, like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, your spouse can ruin your entire life if you let them. So making the right choices, not even just spouse, not even just like who you're in a relationship with, but your friendships too, can make or break your career. Because, that affects everything you do. So
That's facts. That's fact. Anthony, did you laugh? Because
I
because
can
you're like,
relate.
oh, he was like, oh yeah. All right.
it's the truth, though. I have an awesome husband this time around. Second time's a charm. So
Is there anything you know now you're like, oh man, if I had just known this a little bit earlier, that you want to share with us?
I don't know how else to put it, but I'll put it in the most eloquent way that I guess I can. Invest early. Like, none of the other stuff matters. The clothes, the watches, the cars, none of it. Just invest in yourself early. Like, save for a rainy day. That first big check you get of your big boy, big girl job, like, start planning to save as much as you can. And that's it. I mean, invest in yourself. I learned the hard way. I was the person with the, gotta have the nice suit and it has to be freshly pressed from Bloomingdale's with the shoes, and my hair was pressed every 2 weeks with the, silk wrap, but none of it matters. None of it matters. Either you know what you know and you have the right connections and the right network, or you don't. Like, none of that stuff matters. So
What is it called? The Millionaire Next Door? Is that what the book is called? The Millionaire Next Door, where they basically talk about rich people don't be buying all
at
that.
all,
Yeah.
at all,
It's the people
at
who have
all.
no money who are always trying to stunt and flex. I
Yeah.
thought you had
And
read the book because you were spitting bars or something. Yeah.
it's just it's literally just, you live and you learn. I walk into a bank with sweatpants on and a t-shirt, and I used to really care about appearances. Like I literally would live in, I was extremely vain. Like, and it doesn't matter. Kanye West said it best. I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but he was right. None of it matters.
So real quick, I'm gonna tell this story in less than 30 seconds. So I too go everywhere in sweatpants and flip flops, and we went to the Toomey store one time, right? Because I have Toomey bags. We went to the Toomey store, and I was like, "Hey, I want that bag," and the lady was like, if you don't mind, what do you do for work?" So I had to tell her, So I had to tell her what I did for work. I was like, "Oh, I work in cybersecurity." She's like, "Oh, there's good money in that," and then she let me hold the backpack.
That's wild. I love blowing people's minds. We literally closed on our house with sweatpants and an old shirt that probably had food and paint stains on it. And I swear, everybody that was in the office was looking at us like they're about to close. And they asked our realtor, like, "Are these the people closing?" Yes, that's us. None of this matters.
That's fire.
It's all a video game.
It's all of we're in the Matrix, y'all.
I told you I'm a hippie. I told you. I warned you.
Oh, you know what? Actually, what's next for you? Whether it's for path, whether it's in your career, whether it's just home in the next week or two, like what is next for you?
What is next? One part of me wants to retire early and like move to a beach town and not have to worry about anything. My husband's 10 years older than me. So like I always tell him when he retires, I want to retire. That's probably not going to happen. So what's really next is I really want to move into management and like kind of have the ability to help even more people. I tell my boss this all the time. He thinks I'm crazy. The higher up you go, the more influence you have. And the more influence you have in those rooms, the more people you can speak for. And I think that more people like me need to be in those executive rooms to let, leadership know the way that you're doing things obviously isn't working. And this is why things are happening the way that they are. Having a millennial voice in a room, although people, seem to dislike millennials, I think it's a breath of fresh air. So definitely moving into management, understanding how far I can take path from like a reach standpoint. I'm definitely curious about that too. Just understanding how far it can go. But I'm just, going with the flow. I really don't have a lot of expectations. As long as I'm happy, I'm good. So that's probably the best way to put it.
All right. Love that. I really do love your passion for just helping people and bringing people along with you. It shines so much.
Oh, thank you.
I have a quick question. So for aspiring professionals, sales engineers and solutions architects, are there any resources or certifications or anything like that that helped you kind of advance throughout your career?
You're not going to like my answer.
Okay, sick.
See, ISSP is my only cert. Like I literally went my entire career just knowing the thing, but not necessarily being certified in the thing. The best advice I would give is whatever, section of cybersecurity you're interested in, research it like your last breath depends on it. If you're into cloud, understand all that involves cloud, all the technologies, all the things, and just self-study. Because nobody can take that knowledge from you. So even if you don't use it, nobody can take it out your head. So definitely self-study and learn the things if you want to do the job. Yeah.
That's dope. I like that. That seems to be a common theme lately is people being like, certs ain't necessarily it. Like just go learn it and just go do it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us.
I don't want to stop talking. I really want to come meet y'all so we could like talk.
Come through. I think Anthony wants to do lunch as well. So
I do. I really like her.
He gonna hit you up for his podcast. Anyway, thank you. Endless gratitude. You know what I mean? Like we know time is currency. We hope you feel like this is time well spent. So yeah. So thank you.
We're so happy that you were here for the podcast. And to our listeners, our audience, thank you for joining us for another episode as well. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate the support, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Stay wavy.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.